Hello, everyone. My name is Wolfram Schmidt. Um, this is my company, Tübingen IT. This is also the beautiful town of Tübingen I come from. It's definitely worth a visit for everyone. First, I'd like to say, Dominic, thank you for the invitation. And thank you, ERPNext team, for creating such great software we could use. Yeah, my name is Wolfram Schmidt, as I said. My English accent comes from England as well. I've spent 7 years of my life there. And I'm the co-founder of the business. And something I love also about ERPNext is just the simplicity. And my job choice comes a lot from solving problems. So what do I as a company do? We provide IT services for small and medium businesses, also for non-commercial customers, so say anyone's grandma or so, and we do consultation, purchase, and configuration for any systems really. So we have Mac OS for our customers, Linux, we have Windows servers. We go beyond on websites and all sorts, and also want to get into providing ERP solutions for our customers. So a big part of my day-to-day work is solving problems for our customers, just general computer problems. So what do? We track problems. Either we already know them and can solve them straight away. If we can't, we Google it, then we solve it, we document it, and then we bill it. So this is basically a big part of my day-to-day work, and I'd like to show how we do this. That's one too far. This is our toolbox. So like everyone who needs to do work, we need our tools. And as you might see, all these tools we use are actually open source completely, except for one being AnyDesk. That's just the red equivalent to TeamViewer. I'd like to show you something on ITOP and ERP and how we use this in our company, and how we sort of solve a problem. Just an information right there. I come from a very sort of from the user side, so I'm not very into code. But on the other hand, use the graphical interface. So ITOP is open source computer management database and ITIL ticketing and incident management from France. We used to work with OTRS, changed also for one reason being having the visualization of the infrastructure. So this would be a picture of one of our customers. What we can do is, so we set up a server, set up the server here, see we have a web server, see we have a database, the different database schemes on it, and this would show what the customer actually uses, sort of what the customer sees, what's interesting for the customer. So as you can see, there's a red exclamation mark here, which means there's an incident on this feature being email. So what we can do is, if we have the incidents, we can see them as a list, and one of these incidents would now be on the email server something we can look up. We can set priorities on this ticket. We can put them towards one of our colleagues and solve it as quick as possible. We get detailed information about these incidents on when we started it, if we had to take a break. There's like a public log which the customer can see as well. There's a private log which just we could see. And as you might be able to see at the top, we can connect all this with the different items inside our computer management database. So similar to the ERP, this is also actually known as an ERP for IT services. We can connect the whole thing, connect a computer to a software, to a person, to a solution, to a backup job, and we can have this great feature of having it visual. The nice thing about having it visual, obviously you can show a customer and say, look, we can actually see at this point, if this server doesn't work, your whole system doesn't work. So we should build up redundancy. And yeah, we all know what it's like. Seeing is believing. And if you can actually show a customer, it's a lot easier for him to understand. And if you understand something, you're more happy paying for something. So let's get over to ERPNext and how we use it. I think the first time I came across ERPNext was 6 to 8 months ago. We were looking for something to do our invoicing. So we started off with my co-CEO, Heiko Schmidt, who said, that's not a problem. We'll just do it with Word. Those few invoices is not going to be a problem. So my company started off in the winter of 2015, and we had 10 invoices in the first month. Obviously, that wasn't a problem. So 6 months later, we're at like 50 invoices, and the first troubles would come up. So Heiko would copy paste, and then Mrs. Muller would get the invoice from Mr. Schmidt, and obviously, not a big problem, but a problem that comes up if you do manual work. So we were looking for something how we could automate invoicing. And as dear Mr. Whoever is on every invoice, that's nothing you have to write down every time. So my software choices, as you could see, they need to be open source. And what I'm also looking for is that they're cross-platform, available for all platforms. So web-based solutions in that case are, the way to go. And we had a look at Odoo, we had a look at Triton. Odoo seemed a little overcomplicated. You install something and it says you need that module, that module, that module, and it just was a chore to sort of get your head around it, so it never really got running. Triton, on the other hand, is very simple. Looks a bit, 2002, so it's not very user friendly. What I liked about is the feature of being able to install it on a client and have a sort of offline usability as well. So what we're really looking for is something to track our times with. Obviously, you could do this in a spreadsheet to just put down the day, the date, the time, and the job you did. And ERPNext had this the time report feature in it. We had a look at it, quick look at it. It looked promising. We soon after noticed that it wasn't quite the thing we were looking for. So I now noticed that we just had a different approach on how to do timesheets. As I just said, for me, a timesheet is a spreadsheet. It says my name on it. It says the month on it, the jobs I did, the time I started, the time I finished. Now, what we've noticed is this is a feature you can just pull out of the report functionality out of ERPNext. So I'd like to get in, just give you a short overview of how we actually use it. As you saw, we have these incidents in iTop, and these incidents are, at the end of the day, the customer requests we get, we have to work on. And so we had to implement these into ERPNext in some way. So what we did is took the project module and decided, there's two different jobs for us. So either we have a single job from a customer, for example. It's probably difficult to see. Never mind. So this is just a singular job we would get from a customer. He would need, 3 new computers, for example. So we would do this as a single project. We'd send a quotation to this customer, say for 3,000 euros, and we would just finish this project and it's done. On the other hand, we have customers which we provide, every month. We have several service level agreements with these. And what we needed to do is sort of to get our hand around how to implement an SLA in ERPNext. So as I said, I come from a very from the user side, and didn't do any coding. So I sort of found a solution how to do it from a user perspective. So what we do is we create a project for every month for every customer. As you can see, the 1703, so this would be March for this customer. And further down in the tasks list, we would just implement all the incidents and just copy paste them into ERPNext. The next thing we'd do is actually open the task and copy the text out of the public log and just put it in the task description. Because our customers in Germany, if they get their invoice, they want to know what has been done. And if I just write down 10 hours of IT support, they just say, look, that's not enough. I want to know what you actually did. So this was our sort of solution to get that on the sheet. Yeah, so much so we've now implemented the incidents from iTop into ERPNext. Very manually, as you can see, there's no interface needed, which is something we'd like to work to. The next thing is the actual time tracking. So if I don't track my times, which has happened before, and trying to remember what you did a week ago on Tuesday, 10 o'clock for a customer, and if you can actually bill it or not, it's very difficult if this is actually past 14 days. So I've noticed the best thing to do is you do your work and you just put down your task as quick as possible. So what we do is just use the timesheet module, and which I saw on a YouTube video, how to actually use it best, is just to put down your times and forget about them more or less. So what you can do is just open a new timesheet, and as you can see, the overview is very difficult. Just says timesheet on it. There's no really, it doesn't say anything here who did it or when it was done. So from that YouTube video, I learned is you just do it and put the time towards a project, and in detail book the time towards a task, which would be the incident we worked on. So also in an SLA, we'd have jobs which would be part of the SLA, so just backup monitoring, or we'd have tasks which are not part of the SLA. So if someone calls up and says, want this software installed or something, we could also just set the tick for invoicing. This would then all be inside this project, being the SLA. And this now, at the end of the month, needs to be billed. There is, at the moment, no functionality for us to extract an invoice out of the project straight away, having all the tasks there, because then again, there could be tasks which have been started in March, but haven't been finished till April, and I can't bill anything that hasn't been finished. So what we did is we don't put the incidents into ERPNext up until they're actually finished, but obviously the timesheet is already booked towards these incidents. And what we found is the feature of that we have the timesheets at the bottom, and you can set how many hours of IT services we did for the customer. And this is a feature, as I said, we haven't used yet. So our invoicing doesn't go out of ERPNext, but we also already gather the information out of ERPNext. So this is a sort of draft of how an invoice would look like at the moment. We've overworked this with CSS, so it just looks like a German standard invoice. And so far we'd have the tasks down here, but there's no description to the tasks. So this is something missing at the moment. So as I've already said a few things about what we need, you might have had an idea. Would be, on the SLA again, what we think is really good is, for example, this feature, being able to see how much time has actually been spent on this customer in a month, here being this March. It would be a really great feature if we were able to sort of, click on the month and then send the invoice straight out of the month, and all open, still open tasks would just be moved to the next month till they're actually finished. Not having to create a new project as we do at the moment for every month. This is still something we can do, for 30 customers, you can still do it. If it's 100 customers, it gets a little bit more tricky. So the feature and the whole setup for the thing is already there. You know, you have this in English, the make button or the draft from, and you could collect the information. So I can see the whole infrastructure is already there. It's just for me not that accessible yet. Yesterday I've learned a lot for me of how I can access these details and actually work with it, and I'm confident we can actually change it. So my conclusion so far to using ERPNext just for time tracking and potentially invoicing very soon, I hope. Like the search bar, the whole thing is pretty awesome, I thought. It's easy to use. It's very, user friendly. We all use smartphones if we have iOS, Android, and we get to know what good software is. This is definitely good software. As I've said, I think it's all there. I can see the possibilities. The connections can be made, but it's just a thing of actually finding them and connecting them. I see great potential for us and great potential for ERPNext. And I think we just have to spend more time, narrow it down, knowing, certain focus on certain points, and then we can expand with the idea and keep on selling it to customers. So the chances I've seen, this is actually a number I just got out just after lunch. The customers we provide are craftsmen, like plumbers and carpenters. These are, teams of 5 to 10 people, maybe just 2 or 3 computers, and they need to do all these things: projects, time tracking, invoices, quotations, and they normally have a low budget. And this is the number of just Baden-Württemberg, so southwest of Germany. 132 craftsmanship shops there are, and potential customers. In Germany, we always have had a high security concern, so no data loss and keeping data private. And I think a good chance as well is that there's a possibility of having ERPNext on-premise or off-premise. Thank you very much.